President Trump signed an executive order today to ban CBDCs. And I'm sure this looks like a total win. And that's exactly what they want you to think. Because a lot of people think that the CBDCs are going to be connected to the beast system. And anybody who's been watching my stuff knows it's not going to be the CBDCs. It's going to be the cryptocurrency. And guess what he announced?
Make the United States a manufacturing superpower and the world capital of artificial intelligence and crypto.
He has to get all the other currencies out the way so they can make the cryptocurrency system the one. Remember this patent cryptocurrency system using body activity data 060606. It is a cryptocurrency system that will be connected to a server that you will wear or have on you or in you. And it says if you do what you're supposed to do, then you'll get paid. All of y'all who think this was a win, it was not. We just got closer to the beast system.
Isn't it fascinating how Trump is just coming in making these like world-changing points? So a part of this, aside from just the overall infrastructure change and repositioning, deglobalization, reconstruction of this kind of new digital world that they're building, wedged in between there is a new currency, is a new, completely new digital economy. So I want to show some evidence of this as Trump is, I believe, over these next 4 years is going to attempt to build this thing out. And it's going to be done creatively through deconstruction and destruction, creative destruction. And that's going to be through war. That's going to be through crisis. That's how they build these things.
I will ensure that the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin will be made in the USA, not driven overseas. I will support the right to self-custody to the nation's 50 million crypto holders. I say this with your vote. I will keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin. And I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency.
So this is key, and you guys remember this clip. It's very important that he says this because that's what everyone's afraid of. It's not that we should be afraid of CBDCs. Surely they're problematic. But that's not the only problem. It's the overall infrastructure. It's the overall dependence of certain digital technologies connected to blockchain that are fully transparent and interoperable, but also connected to, say, aspects of our bodies and our person. That's the real problem. And you will get this with whether it be Bitcoin or crypto, stablecoins, all these things. It's the overall infrastructure that is extremely problematic. Now, if it's allowed to function in some type of independent way alongside other lower technological economies like cash and possibly the digital type of payment system we have now, if they could both exist, I'd probably have less of an issue. But when we look at the mark of the beast and the direction of a lot of the singularity, it's looking like they're going to slowly try to phase out cash and all of these things. And they could do it quickly through certain types of crisis. We've already discussed this. But it's fascinating how they're really selling this. Like, look, I'm not bringing in CBDCs. I'm going to bring in the digital currencies. I'm going to allow you to have your Bitcoin and have your crypto. And I think that's a type of Trojan horse, unfortunately. And he's really gung-ho about it, just like he's gung-ho about the juicy juice, jabs.
I will ensure that the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin will be made in the USA, not driven overseas. I will support the right.
There it is. There's the techno-nationalism. The digital currency system, basically, is what he's saying. We're going to beat China. It's the techno-nationalism. Those that have been following this show and this work over the years, you guys, it's all making sense to you because we've covered all of these things far in advance. This is the info war. This is the battle. We're here for it. And of course, ultimately, we want to bring people to Christ because that's what's most important. That's what safeguards us from all of these worldly things, and all of this nonsense. So we won't sell our souls once they make the offer, because they will. Now let's go back to 2020. Check it out.
Worker, we want every citizen, regardless of age or background, to have the cutting-edge skills to compete and succeed in tomorrow's workplace. This includes critical industries like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and 5G.
There it is. He is fully on board, a techno-optimist, techno-nationalist, accelerationist, maybe a soft version, but he is all about it. That's why he pushed the novel Juice Tech on the earth in rapid speed. He wants to bring in the pervasive AI infrastructure. He wants to bring in all the networking systems, the 5, 6, 7G. He's all about it. Let's not be naive about what is going on right now.
Succeed in tomorrow's workplace.
He wants to succeed. He wants to lead the world. Make America great again. The world leader. What? The world leader in 4th industrial to 5th industrial technologies.
Have the cutting-edge skills to compete and succeed in tomorrow's workplace. This includes critical industries like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and 5G.
Quantum computing is the future of the singularity. Their ultimate goal is to create artificial intelligence, quantum physics, sensing, the ability to be at the quantum level of physics. This is what they're trying to do. So when you hear even Trump talking about quantum computing, it's like, oh, well, damn. The government is fully on board with these highly transhumanist technologies. I'm not warning people about a flood, but I'm warning people about a type of digital storm that's coming, that's already here.
This is why I do think a crypto czar is critically important, because there's a lot of promises, as you mentioned, and they're across the board. It's not just the SEC chair does this. You need tax writers to make sure that the moratorium on capital gains taxes on U.S. crypto that he's promised is done. You're going to need the White House counsel's office to write the executive orders to end what they call choke point 2.0, the debanking of crypto. You're going to need somebody to run this crypto council.
And you think he'll do it?
Oh, I think he's committed to do it because it's part of his overall. Look, Trump wants to create the second industrial revolution in America.
And he misspoke there. He means the 4th industrial, going into the 5th. Trump wants an industrial revolution. He's bringing in the next industrial revolution. It's happening in 2025. And their goal is by 2030 to actually be to a certain point, but this is their goal.
Committed to do it because it's part of his overall. Look, Trump wants to create the second industrial revolution in America.
And he thinks crypto is one of the pathways.
Part of it, along with nanotechnology, AI, quantum computing, biotechnologies. If we could go from where we've been the last few years, which resistance to innovation, to really furthering innovation, we might be able to get to that 4.5% growth rate.
Growth rate. Right back to the neoliberal capitalist model. Now we understand it's not legitimate free market neoliberalism. It's by design, controlled, managed, manipulated, tinkered, misrepresented techno-capital or digitalism.
Oh, damn.
Think about what a lot of crap Elon Musk has been talking about, we're not reproducing, and this is true. We are depopulating ourselves culturally by not having children and forming families, but this is what happens in a high technological society. This is what happens. And not just first world developed societies, When they're highly technological, we see it we see the decrease in population increase faster. Japan and Korea are perfect examples of that. Highly technological societies that are decreasing at like rapid fire. Well, we have a solution for that.
I could argue in the developed countries, the big winners are countries that have shrinking populations. That's something that most people never talked about. You know, we always used to think shrinking population is a cause for negative growth. But in my conversations with the leadership of these large developed countries that have xenophobic immigration policies, they don't allow anybody to come in.
He's talking about xenophobia. That's because in this new network state multipolar kind of arrangement, this new world order or new world system, culture, nationalism, even like ethnic identity and borders are to be kind of obsolesced and disregarded as important anymore, because now what's important is this new type of monoculture of say, popular culture online, right? Where now we have screenagers, right, that are learning about life, learning about themselves, and mimicking culture that they've learned through the screen. This is becoming international. So we're already creating this type of international network state monoculture. I call it cultural futurism. Through the screens, through the social media, that bleeds into the actual geographic physical locations. They have no allegiance. There's no loyalty to nation state or nationhood or nationalism. Every place is just an opportunity to collect resources and data and make transactions, et cetera, et cetera. So this new type of multipolar network world system is going to be disrespecting borders, is going to be disrespecting these kind of what they would call xenophobic perspectives. And this is why we see a lot of this kind of forced influx and flooding of immigrants into certain populations and regions, whether that be the UK, parts of America. Aspects of borders and nationalism safeguard certain regions from being corrupted, say culturally, but more importantly technologically, because the multipolar elite system wants to exploit weak borders and exploit weak culture and push this type of futurism on everyone.
The leadership of these large developed countries that have xenophobic immigration policies, they don't allow anybody to come in, shrinking shrinking demographics. These countries will rapidly develop robotics and AI and technology. And if the promise, I didn't say it's going to happen, but if the promise of all that transforms productivity, which most of us think it will, we'll be able to elevate the standard of living.
Wow, you hear what he's saying? All you got to do is just let us flood you with all of our technologies, plug in, and we're gonna raise the standard of living for individuals. This is the sales point. This is what Trump is preparing the America, but also the West for, right? The acceptance of this, and these are the sales points.
And technology and will rapidly develop robotics and AI and technology. And if the promise, I didn't say it's going to happen, but if the promise of all that transforms productivity, which most of us think it will, we'll be able to elevate the standard of living of countries and the standard of living of individuals, even with shrinking populations. And so the paradigm of negative population growth is going to be changing. And the social problems that one will have in substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have declining populations. And so for those countries that have rising populations, the answer will be education, and so rapidly developing. For those countries that...
Education, he means conditioning. We're going to get in there and force these technologies and cultures on them. We're going to re-educate them.
Do not have a foundation of rule of law or education, they're going to be left. That's where the divide's going to get more and more extreme.
So basically, evolve or die.
It's my honor to welcome three of the world's leading technology CEOs. And in the case of Larry Ellison, it's well beyond technology, sort of CEO of everything. He's an amazing man, an amazing business person. But to announce the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, And it's all taking place right here in America. As you know, there's great competition for AI and other things, and they're coming in at the highest level. We're joined by Oracle Executive Chairman Larry Ellison, SoftBank CEO, my friend Masa Yoshi-san, and CEO of OpenAI, and I would say by far the leading expert based on everything I read, Sam Altman. So that's great that you're coming in together. That's a massive group of talent and money. Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately. This monumental undertaking is a resounding declaration of confidence in America's potential under a new president. Let me be a new president. I didn't say it, they did. So I appreciate that, fellas. But it'll ensure the future of technology. What we want to do is we want to keep it in this country. China is a competitor and others are competitors. We want it to be in this country, and we're making it available.
Hey, Manyfish. It is the 23rd of January, 2025, and I do sincerely pray you're doing well. And I've gone back to the old notes and was moved to share what I'm going to share with you today. And it's pertaining to this AI investment, this Stargate AI with the tech titans. I love the language. They also call them tech giants. All right. So just think about this. Their Stargate AI investment plan. You know, they had a plan at the Tower of Babel too, until the Lord said, the people are one and they have all one language. That sounds really familiar. And this they begin to do. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing now. And now nothing will be restrained, which they have imagined to do. Okay, this is talking about Nimrod, which is Osiris, which is Apollo, and I shared with you the whole Rocky connection. This connects back to Demolition Man too. Sly Stallone, you know, the perfect moral society that they're going to create. And the old video that I was led to go back to, which I never am. I don't know if I've ever gone back to an old video, but this came right back to me, and I'm gonna play this for you because I believe it's more pertinent now than ever. And it's talking mostly about Oracle setting up their cloud in Jerusalem, deep underground in Jerusalem, the Oracle. And the video will explain to you what that means. And of course, there's always much more. Always. And you know, I fully intend and desire to share these things with you guys, but God's will be done, man. That's all I can tell you. So check this video out and share it with people, really, because this is really happening. 12th of February, 2021. I sincerely do pray for all of you. I mean, this is really getting ridiculous, but here we are, right? And then I saw this and I was prompted to share it with you. I mean, just think about what they're saying here. Oracle, which is, you know, a big giant tech company, right? Which also means, biblically speaking, the Oracle is the Holy of Holies. Just keep that in mind. To set up regional cloud center in Jerusalem. The cloud is what God appears in the Holy of Holies. These men are proclaiming themselves as gods. That's essentially what's happening here. And they're putting this thing deep underground. Look how proud they are. We're so proud. It's funny how Israelis are such proud people. The tech giant Oracle said Tuesday it will set up a new data center in Jerusalem. 38 cloud regions. Interesting. 19 and 19. It's going to serve the government. It's all kinds of things. Deep underground in Jerusalem. Think about this. The center will provide advanced cloud. Okay. Remember that the Oracle is the Holy of Holies. The cloud is what God appears in. It's just such a blasphemous scenario here. And they're putting this deep underground in Jerusalem. Do you think anything else is going to be done here? Seriously. I mean, this is where the blockchains of darkness will be all orchestrated from. This is going to be the center of the Internet of Things. The control center, if you will. This is more like an underground temple to the AI gods. Their lair, if you will. Just think about this, you guys. The oracle, the holy of holies, man. And the oracles, the plural, is the word of God. And the cloud is what God appears in the holy of holies. I mean, you really have to understand what's going on here. And it's so in your face. The oracle, right? They just changed their logo not too long ago to this, which is just an oval, you would think, right? It's like this orange oval. Plain, quite drab, really. But why did they change it? Because now they are part of this club, that they are central in setting up this beast system digitally, which will control everything. Isn't it interesting how their little oval here, you know, if you just set a couple of circles, look at what you get. Isn't that just interesting? The Holy of Holies to them. I mean, this goes back to the garden, you guys. Back to Eve, Chava, the life giver, the first woman. They were thrown out of the garden, which is what these people think they're going to get back to without Jesus. They're going to try and go in another way. But meantime, they're going to take as many of you with them as possible. And they do that simply by keeping you from the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. You don't know him, you don't know the truth, and you do not have life. I mean, you guys really got to think about this. This is an amazing thing to me. I'll leave a link to it. The cloud. What did God tell Noah? I set my bow in the cloud as a covenant with you, right? And they have desecrated the rainbow. They've desecrated, and now they're literally proclaiming themselves the oracles of God. They are appearing in the cloud in the oracle, deep underground in Jerusalem. Come on, you guys, seriously. Remember, though, behold, he cometh with clouds. Revelation 1:7. Victory. I want to share more stuff with you guys. There's a lot of wackiness, as you know. It's like I just don't even want to deal with it anymore. It's just so ridiculous. But I love each and every one of you, and I want to share these things with you because we all need to know that exactly as Scripture tells us, exactly as it promises us, and everything we see proves it. Get into the Word of God and understand where you are at. And stay close to the Lord, I'm telling you. Seek Him every moment, because this is how close we are. Anyway, links in the description. God bless each and every one of you. Peace and grace to you. Many fish.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord, and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against...
I play that Ephesians 6 scripture after every video, and I was in it the other day and came across something that is pretty darn interesting to me. Ephesians 6:12 that we were just listening to, where it's talking about we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Look at this right here. Rulers. It is the Greek concordance word 2888, and it means a world ruler, an epithet of Satan, and it's only used one time. Now check this out. That's what I just showed you there, G288, rulers, one time, Satan. Well, the word in the concordance for death is 2288. Trump's text number is 8822. And Donald literally means world ruler. Donald, the name given, means a world ruler or world wielder, means world ruler, means ruler of the world. Think about that, man. And allegedly, I have not counted myself, but he gave his speech at the inauguration under the apotheosis of Washington, right? And it was 2,888 words. And I only briefly looked into that, but it appears to be so. And another thing that I will show you on the Google Earth at one point, the House of the Temple, where they hold the ritual during the inauguration and where it is set in the city, it's exactly 8,888 feet from center to center to the Washington Monument.
How is it that we have Clinton introducing nanotechnology into the life world of American people, followed up by George Bush, then followed up by Obama, then followed up by Trump, and then Biden. And Trump has just renewed it. Why the hell does it matter who's in office if every single one of them are pushing forward the transhumanist agenda? And again, listen, I'm not saying these guys have any choice. they have no choice in it. It's just demystifying all of these politics and all this garbage everyone is so wrapped up in. Let's look at the NNI. Yeah, this is the stuff they're doing, man. This is transhumanism. Applied transhumanism. All optical nanoscale sensors of force. So we're going into photonics, light, and bioelectricity, cellular and molecular. We're going far beyond a lot of these surface platforms that were being sold here. You got everybody's part of it. Every single one of them, they're all here, man. All the agencies, doesn't matter. They're all here playing their part. Who is a nothing burger? Why? Trump's who exit nothing burger because of privatization and corporate capture, right? We see this happening with big tech. I don't care if you left the globalist organization about health. You're just giving the American people right to a bunch of smarmy AI transhumanists ready to put stuff in American people. Saying Quantum Initiative, NNI, Gavi, AI deregulation, biometric smart wall, tech border, panopticism. So he's down with all this stuff, guys.
The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
It'll make the United States a manufacturing superpower and the world capital of artificial intelligence and crypto.
Disease, national security, economic rehab, Doge, MAGA as ploys for full spectrum digital transformation and biodigital convergence. Again, let me repeat that. Whether it be diseases, national security, economic rehab, or making the government more efficient, as well as just the push of making America great again, these are all ploys for full spectrum digital transformation, acceleration. And of course, a requirement therein is biodigital convergence. Biodigital convergence is not just the Canadian project or program. It's the concept of merging biology with digital devices and network systems and creating ecosystems of life. I call it digital civics. This is where all of this is going. From my studies and my research, this is what Trump's preparing. And it's not Trump. He's not doing anything. I'm just keep things simple. This is the direction. Techno-optimism and techno-nationalist AI arms race with China to usher in the 4th to 5th industrial revolution or new golden axial age.
As you said yesterday, this is the beginning of golden age of America. This is one great example, I think. This is the beginning of golden age.
Just the way they keep throwing that out, man, that's big talk, man. It's true, though. This is like what they're trying to do. It's an axial shift. It's a new axial age. Everything from philosophy to economies, right? Ontology, epistemology, aesthetics, ethics, all these things are transforming with this new type of paradigm.
We wouldn't have decided unless you won. And yesterday we agreed, we signed to make this happen.
Whilst everyone's freaking out about China or about Israel, All of this is being developed. All of it. Streamlined, speed run, warp speed, acceleration. So I don't care. I don't give a damn who the hell is in office, man.
So we are very, very excited to do this. And our partner is, of course, SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and additionally investing partner with MGX. On top of that, we have the technology partner NVIDIA,
yep.
Of course,
Microsoft, everybody.
Very, very supportive. To
Literal technocracy here.
Continue to support all our success.
It's table tennis politics. One nation under transhumanism. Singularity has always been the goal. And essentially all of these things, I don't care what you're talking about. I don't care if you're talking about metaphysics or physics. I don't care if you're talking about biology or consciousness. They're all under the transhumanist umbrella. They're all different aspects of a transhumanist movement. Changing man's image, destroying the imago Dei, creating the human plus, the post-human entity, the golem, I argue, the Antichrist, and ushering in the mark of the beast via singularity. It's always been the goal. And then I started with this dude. Passed it on to him. Passed it on to him. Who passed it on to him and passed it on to him and back to him. They're all one team, one club, doing what they're supposed to do. They're poor men that have no real power. They're pawns, actors, playing roles, positions, being paid, careers, careermen for something much bigger than all of us. Much bigger. Much bigger than us all.
A picture's worth 1,000 words, at least for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. Now, we've gotten to a point in our society where the majority of people think that everything is a meme, everything is a joke, and that's exactly what the occult wants you to think, so that they could reveal themselves in front of you, which is what they do, and by living by universal law, which requires them to reveal themselves, nobody out there even notices. So Donald Trump Jr. posted this image of his father, Donald Trump, looking in the mirror and seeing a goat. Now, we know that 90%, 95%, maybe even 99% of the population looks at this and has been trained, without them realizing it, to think that he's the greatest of all time. Nobody ever thinks of why somebody decided to come up with an acronym and then push it out into the world on television when it comes to who's the greatest of all time, musician-wise, who's the greatest rapper of all time, who's the greatest football player of all time, who's the greatest wrestler of all time, who's the greatest of all time. We constantly hear it, but nobody out there understands how the Tavistock Institute for Social Engineering works. They put these things out so that they can normalize things, and they've normalized the goat, and most of the population doesn't have the slightest clue. They think things like this are just out there as a joke, and that's how they get away with doing the things they do out in the open. Now, this picture is awfully eerily similar to the one that Elon Musk put up when he was, in fact, looking directly in a mirror, wearing that outfit that he wore for Halloween, which Elon Musk's calling card is that he wears these outfits on Halloween so that nobody out there has a right to question him. A lot of the Satanists like to do that. And here he is wearing a Baphomet outfit, which I'm sure the majority of you remember. And of course, right on the back for everybody to see is an upside down crucifix. And some of you might remember on another Halloween when he dressed up as the Egyptian deity Anubis, who is the Egyptian god of the afterlife, right? But nothing to see here, folks. As Confucius once said, signs and symbols rule the world, not words nor laws. But when you convince 100% of the population to only perceive things in words and laws, then 9 times out of 9 or 10 times out of 10, they're not going to see any of the signs and symbols in front of them, even if it's as obvious as these images that we've all seen over the years. Every single celebrity has a photo of themselves holding a hand up over their eye, doing the all-seeing eye of Lucifer, the eye of provenance, that eyeball that's represented on the back of the dollar bill. But how many people out there see these pictures and roll their eyes and say, they're just trolling, they're just kind of being silly for the photo, right? When we see the repetition and the pattern right in front of our faces. So Donald Trump, his son, posts this picture of his father looking in the mirror and seeing it go. Now, how tone deaf can you actually be? We know that these people are not tone deaf. We know that they have their finger on the pulse because they listen to us, they monitor us, they use algorithms to track the things we discuss, and clearly the majority of people have somewhat of an understanding of what's going on in terms of the Illuminati, the New World Order, and the occult. Now, you're telling me that Donald Trump Jr. never heard of the Baphomet before? Now, I know the majority of civilians probably haven't heard of the Baphomet, even though the Baphomet has been displayed to them over and over and over again. They've just been trained not to pay attention to it. You're telling me that Donald Trump Jr. didn't know this, that Donald Trump himself wasn't aware of this, just like when I talked about Donald Trump's hand on the Bible for his inauguration, how he didn't have his hand on the Bible. They are doing these things right in front of us and getting away with it. In fact, some of you may remember when Donald Trump signed the National Defense Authorization Act in 2019 and established this ridiculous United States Space Force. Does everybody out there remember? Well, Donald Trump on his website, this is his official store where he sells these items on his store. It is part of the Trump Foundation store. This isn't some random fan who made this website. And here is Donald Trump's Space Force hat. And of course, people out there think that somebody just got on a Magnadoodle and scribbled this idea together of what the logo for Space Force should be. But all one has to do is turn it upside down to see what it actually is. Do you see the goat horns and the upside down pentagram? Here's a closer look for those of you with eyes to see and ears to hear. You can even see how they deliberately chose to use that NASA fake spaceship because it looks exactly like the Baphomet's face with the ears and the face, and then you can see the goat horns and even the upside down pentagram right there, right on top of the hat. That's how easy it is to see these things. But the majority of people have been trained to not look for these things. They've been trained in lies. They've been trained that these types of things, if your brain doesn't look at signs and symbols and perceive them, then you're never going to see it. But if you actually start looking at signs and symbols, if you start looking at magazine covers or headshots of these celebrities or logos, you'll start to see repetition and a pattern, how they all use pentagrams, crescent moons, occult symbols in their corporate logos. Then you'd say to yourself, wait a minute, I thought these people were going to school for marketing. They don't have any great ideas. They all look the same, from Starbucks to Sunoco. I mean, name all these companies that have upside down pentagrams. It's utter insanity. Of course, the Baphomet worship is an obvious thing that goes back to Satanism, the occult. Everybody should remember, I've covered this with the Knights Templar who were pretending to be Christian, who were really worshiping the Baphomet in secret. That's exactly what occurs today. These people on the outside claim to be Christian. Most Christians don't judge them by their fruit, or they might actually wake up to Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Most of these people outwardly present themselves as Christians, just like the Knights Templar did, but in secret, they were worshiping the Baphomet. And as I've covered before, Friday the 13th, why this is some date that's so feared by the actual occult. They want you to be fearful of Friday the 13th and think that Jason Voorhees is going to come out of a Porto John and run into your home on Friday the 13th, when the origins of this were actually the quote-unquote execution of the Knights Templar who were caught worshiping the Baphomet. And Aleister Crowley, of course, is tied into this as well, teaching in his OTO about the Baphomet, even signing his logo when he autographed or signed things, books, etc. He would use the cross or the sigil of the Baphomet, which you can see right on that photo. And this is what it looks like up close. So Crowley was a magician, an occultist, and he believed that the Baphomet represented the union of opposites, of life, of love, and light. He taught all about the Baphomet, and of course Crowley rejected our Father from the Bible and proposed that the Baphomet was derived from Father Mithras. And we can even go back and see Pan worship, the god Pan, okay? There's a link between the Baphomet and the Greek god Pan, with the goat-headed figure associated with Satanism, of course. Pan has the legs of a goat and the horns on his head as well. And just for common sense, for anyone out there that doesn't think there's a correlation between a goat and Satanism, it's literally, the Baphomet is the logo of the Satanic Temple. Now, this is where we run into problems in our world because people are so dumb that the Satanic Temple, who rolls out this Baphomet with the upside down pentagram and all of it on it, with two kids admiring the goat, they come out and they tell you that they don't actually worship Satan. Even though you can find rituals that they're doing online and their tighty-whities, all stuff that looks just like the Freemasonic rituals that I've exposed over the years. All they have to do is say, we don't worship the devil, and we're supposed to take them at their word. Just like Donald Trump says, I'm a Christian. And everybody out there goes, Donald Trump's a Christian. Who are you to criticize Donald Trump? Who are you to say that the Satanic Temple worships Lucifer when they say they don't? Well, I'm just using common sense logic here, right? Which is another term I feel like Trump stole from the truth community, because I've been using that term for quite some time, getting back to common sense. Well, this is common sense logic, right? They use the goat with the pentagram. It's the Satanic Temple's logo. I mean, how much more of an affiliation do you need between the goat and Satanism, right? And of course, when we look at the Baphomet, a lot of the things that you see in this basic photo of the Baphomet we're surrounded by, but nobody ever notices any of it. Nobody notices things like the tattoos on Baphomet's arm, right? Solve et coagula. This is something in alchemy that means dissolve and coagulate. It describes the process of breaking down a substance before rebuilding it into something new. It's kind of like something similar we hear in today's world with the Phoenix Rising, with the constant build back better stuff that we hear. And is it a surprise that it's tattooed right on the arm of J.K. Rowling? I mean, are people familiar with J.K. Rowling? He's only writing these books that teach young children to get involved in witchcraft and sorcery, called Harry Potter. That's what J.K. is known for. And of course, J.K. won't claim to be a witch. J.K. won't claim to be a Satanist, but has it tattooed right on its arms. And of course, we've seen Lady Gaga barf bag doing the as above, so below, the symbol that Baphomet does with his hands. We've seen Beyonce do it. We've even seen pop singer Poppy, who I've done a ton of videos on, from blood baptisms that Poppy does in videos. I mean, that's how obvious they could make stuff and still people don't see it because they've been trained. It's art. It's artistic expression, right? Where Poppy has a video where it's doing as above, so below. It's doing all sorts of satanic things, including taking a blood bath, right? But that's not enough for them to see, to realize these people are Satanists. No different than Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox, right? Deciding to drink one another's blood. Oh, come on, you're a conspiracy theorist, right? He's taking blood baptism in his videos as well. We even saw on the TV show The Voice how they deliberately put this in Life Force with John Legend and some demon next to him doing as above, so below. And sometimes they'll do the 666 symbol with as above, so below as well. We've seen Madonna do on magazine covers. But let's be real. We've throughout this, nightmare that is Hollywood and the music industry, which isn't that long if you think about it. I mean, we're only going, let's just say hypothetically we go back to MTV. So we're going back, to the 80s? Since then, how often do we see these people portray goats or wear these demonic horns on their head, right? You've seen Lady Bartbag every chance it gets doing something that represents the Baphomet, or the performances by Madonna as well, or even album covers like the Rolling Stones, right? The second helping of goat head soup, right? And of course, maybe even the most obvious ones out there is when we look for these signs and symbols associated with Baphomet. When we look at businesses, right? You might remember this famous pizza place that you're not allowed to talk about. And I won't say any more than that. But remember this famous pizza place that people were talking about? Well, one of the reasons that it was uncovered, or part of the uncovering, which of course was them revealing themselves through ridiculous posts that were being made on Instagram that were so disturbing that if you saw your next door neighbor do it, you would call the police on them. If you saw a family member post the things that were being posted by this pizza place, you would have called the FBI and reported a family member because it was that disturbing. And of course, what do we see right in the logo? You see the upside down pentagram and the crescent moon, just like Baphomet, because that's how they reveal themselves. Now, they've pushed the upside down pentagram. They pushed just pentagrams in general, 5-pointed stars, which I call pentagrams, because, a star, if you look through a telescope and you see a star, does it have 5 points? Does anyone out? People want to debate that kind of stuff all the time. Oh, yeah? When you look through a telescope, is this what you're seeing with this little smiley face on it? Okay, minus the smiley face. Is that what you're seeing? No, it's not. You're just seeing light, right? A beam of light. They've taken it and they've made it the 5-pointed star. And that's why people like Aleister Crowley say everybody's a star. Men and women are stars because it's an occult symbol. So they've even pushed this onto children. And in fact, if you're ever around somebody who has kids, or you're ever just wandering the aisles at a store that has a toy section, you will see that these symbols are on every single toy product you could find. Every Fisher-Price toy, they have the pentagram, they have the crescent moon, they have the spiral as well. And even, I always look at the communist symbol, which is a hammer and sickle. That's what they tell you, right? But I always looked at communism, and I think the majority of people who are awake look at communism as Satan's government. And they, of course, have a crescent moon and a pentagram in their logo as well, but they'll tell you it's a hammer and a sickle. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, this all goes back to the normalization of the term GOAT, which started in the 90s with people like LL Cool J. Yes, we've had Muhammad Ali call himself the greatest of all time, but they decided to take that acronym and make it normal. They decided to have every celebrity, every rapper, every athlete start referring to themselves as the GOAT. You may remember when I covered Tom Brady and they released this Baphomet beer, greatest of all time, because when they do this stuff, not only does it normalize the GOAT as a symbol in our society, it also makes these people defensive and angry at people like us for exposing it. They hear this and like, you're ridiculous. It's the greatest of all time. And you say to them, hey, since when is it the greatest of all time? Since when has that become an accurate? Who made that a normal saying, LL Cool J? Or did you just constantly hear it because repetition's the key to mind control? And every time you turned on the TV, you'd hear these talking heads have debates. Who's the greatest president of all time? Who's the greatest quarterback of all time? Who's the greatest rock and roll band of all time? And then when repetition is the key to mind control, when all you hear is that, then suddenly you're defensive of the term because you think it's been normal your entire life. They've normalized it because everything that's done in secret, they're bringing out in the light and are normalizing. That's why you see ridiculous stuff like goat yoga. Why didn't they pick a cat? Why? Because the cat might scratch their back? Well, I mean, personally, I've never done yoga, but being in a stance like these people are, I don't think I'd want a goat's hooves on the back of my neck, okay? What, they couldn't pick anything else to put on their back? I mean, they might as well put a serpent because this is how obvious it is that they started normalizing goat yoga, right? And who normalized it? The celebrities did. Drew Barrymore was normalizing it. Khloe Kardashian, etc., right? And this all goes back. Why did they choose yoga with the goat? Because it goes back to Aleister Crowley. The 8 lectures of yoga. Aleister Crowley wasn't writing books on yoga because he was an exercise enthusiast. Aleister Crowley only wrote books on the occult and occult practices. And that's why he has a book on yoga. And that's why in today's world, you see yoga becoming so much more and more normalized. Now, don't be somebody who comments and says, well, I couldn't hurt. My back was so messed up, man. If I didn't do yoga, I would never have been able to walk again. I'm telling you why it's been normalized. And Aleister Crowley was even quoted saying to train the mind to move with the maximum speed and energy, with the utmost possible accuracy in the chosen direction, and with the minimum of disturbance or friction. That is magic. To stop the mind altogether, that is yoga. And like I said, we saw even guys like Kevin Hart, Kate Beckinsale, all these celebrities, they put this stuff out there because that's how they normalize it to you, right? The first time you hear it of a celebrity doing goat yoga, you're like, what? Huh? That's the common thing. Did you hear anybody saying it now? Why? Because 10 years have gone by and almost every single celebrity has done a skit on a Good Morning America show or on a reality show where they're doing goat yoga. And that's how they normalize this stuff without your brain actually realizing what they're doing. You think they just picked a goat out of all the animals that they could have picked. And what benefits does that do to anybody having a goat? I mean, that's how in our faces this stuff is. And don't forget, even recently, of course, this video has been scrubbed as well. It is available on the website. I covered how King Charles had this, it's so ridiculous how in our faces this stuff is, right? A young King Charles sculpted a unique goat 55 years ago, right? And he still held on to the goat, and the goat got auctioned off, or whoever had the goat kept the goat. And don't forget, some of these rituals with King Charles when he's, put in as king or whatever the nonsense ritual might be, always having this goat around him, right? And nobody thinks anything of it. And in fact, even the term kid in our culture comes from goat. I get criticized all the time because in a lot of my videos I say kid instead of children. And of course, I don't do that deliberately. I'm well aware that a kid is a child and it's also a young goat, which also is part of the meaning that that they've decided to name children into kids, right? And their obsession with kids and their obsession with the goat. It's just one of those words that's hard to deprogram from. There's a lot of words that are hard to deprogram from because the training is so thick. So back to Donald Trump, right? We're supposed to believe that this is a meme because it says "and a memes" on the bottom. And we're supposed to look at this and we're supposed to say, it's no big deal, right? It's no big deal. And that's what people say in the comment section. I mean, here's somebody, Basha. He has 420 likes on this comment. The goat never represented Baphomet, and Baphomet is not a real deity. Baphomet does not exist in any known religious scripture on the planet. Baphomet was a Latin to French mistranslation regarding the Knights Templar and an artistic symbol associated with their order. It was never a real deity, demon, or creature. He means goat, greatest of all time, which Trump is. Please stop with the paranoia and do some reading, people. Okay, Basha, let's do some reading. Basha, just because the term Baphomet is not in scripture, you will find words like scapegoat. You will find goat referenced in a lot of teachings of the people who worship the Baphomet. The ones who celebrate Yom Kippur, right? The goat is mentioned actually, just because the term Baphomet does not mean that it's a mistranslation or that it's paranoia. What this is narcissism. This is people convincing themselves that what they mean is the greatest of all time. Stop it. Trump's the greatest of all time. Yeah? Well, guess what? You're in a psychosis, buddy. You're in a psychosis worshiping human beings, calling them the greatest of all time. It's pretty embarrassing, but it shouldn't surprise me because that's what we live among now, right? Men worshiping other men, men bowing down and saying, oh, he's the greatest of all. I mean, it's embarrassing. And that's why we're in the position we're in, because men aren't men anymore. Men aren't doing anything about what's happening around us. We're putting our faith in other men. And of course, the other men that people are putting their faith in are all fully compromised. So we're supposed to look at this picture as a joke. We're supposed to do some reading according to Basha, right? It's all paranoia. No, it's all truth in plain sight. It's just a matter of whether or not you can accept the reality for what it is. If you want to continue to live in the delusion, then be like Basha. If you want to continue your awakening, realize all of these people in politics and Hollywood are compromised, and they reveal who they worship every single day to all of us. And that's why when you take a picture like I showed earlier of all of them doing the all-seeing eye, show that to somebody. What's their reasoning? What's their response to it? Well, their brain can't process it because their brain has been trained to be dumb, to hear information and then think that information is real by deeming it news because it's on the television set, right? That's mind control. They turn it on, then they go and repeat the news as if it's real. They never could grasp the idea that the government fakes the news, which means that the government scripts these events out. Whether people really die or not, it does matter for the people involved, but they can never grasp that these events that they tell you are really happening are fictional. And by fictional, I mean scripted, planned, black ops carrying out these events at schools and malls and everywhere else, right? These people can't grasp that. They live in a different reality. So they could see a picture of every single celebrity holding a hand up over their eye. And they're likely going to respond by rolling their eye because some of them will look and they'll be like, oh yeah, they're all Satanists. Until they see one of their favorite celebrities like Mel Gibson, for example, right? Mel Gibson is now a conservative. So we can look at Lady Gaga, we can look at Madonna, and we could say they're Satanists. Tom Hanks is a Satanist, right? Oh, but Mel Gibson's into MAGA now. So we'll forgive Mel Gibson for doing the all-seeing eyes. There's no way he could still be in the club. He broke free from all that, right? They can't process the truth, which is why they continue to make excuses for the actions of these people all around us. And guess what? When this thing is burned into the ground, when Babylon falls, these same people are going to make excuses for Donald Trump, and they're going to be told to blame an invisible boogeyman. And that's what they'll do, because sheep will do as sheep will do, which is follow the herd, never think independently, but convince themselves that they are awake and thinking freely. That's the scariest part, but that's the world we live in 2025.
All right, I'm going to try to wake some of y'all up in this video. We all know Trump's hat, 45-47. 4 plus 5 is 9, 4 plus 7 is 11. 9/11, Revelation 9:11, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. There is this book written in 2012, and it's called Revelation 9:11, Angel of the Abyss, and on the cover it has Elvis. Do y'all remember when Trump put this post up? Or this one? Remember, it's called Revelation of the Method They Have to Tell Us. We also know that the Antichrist is going to make a 7-year peace treaty. And for the first 3.5 years of tribulation, there will be a false peace. U.S. President Trump says he and Chinese president have agreed to do everything possible to make the world more peaceful and safe. He also is talking about furthering the Abraham Accords. We also know now that he met with Bill Gates for dinner for 3 hours. And what did they talk about? Vaccines. You know why? Because he literally called himself the father of the vaccine. I don't know how much clearer it has to be. He also talked about the working class all the time, but his cabinet now is full of showbiz celebrities and hedge fund managers. Did y'all also know that his inauguration is getting paid by Pfizer? That wouldn't be the reason why he talked to Bill Gates, though. We also have Vivek saying dawn of a new golden age starts on Monday. Dawn of a new golden age. The Golden Dawn, which is from the New Age theology, and occultist. Hermetic Order of the Golden Age was a secret society that studied and practiced occult magic and metaphysics in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The Golden Dawn was influenced by Freemasonry and Hermetic mysticism, and its members practiced theurgy and spiritual development. Trump supporters think that they're getting a King David, but they're really getting a King Saul. The only King David that we're going to see next is Jesus. Tribulation is coming fast. He's already in talks with creating the New World Order, which is also the WEF's plan for the world. Do you notice that America, Canada, and Greenland are together in this map? And wouldn't you know it, World Economic Forum says Trump to take part virtually in Davos meeting days after inauguration, probably to make plans to set up this New World Order that he's already talking about. Y'all, he's not using their plans against them, he is doing them the way they want. It's crazy that people don't see all this. And it's because there has been a spell cast over his followers. And it's called MAGA, which is the highest rank in the Church of Satan. Break yourselves of this idolatry and come back to Jesus before it's too late. This man is not a Christian because he has not asked for forgiveness.
When you said that you've never asked God for forgiveness, do you regret making that remark?
No, I have great relationship with God. I have great relationship with the evangelicals. In fact, nationwide, I'm up by a lot. I'm leading everybody. But I like to be good. I don't like to have to ask for forgiveness.
You cannot be a Christian unless you repent of your sins. He is a wolf in sheep's clothing. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 13 through 15. For such men are false apostles, deceitful workmen, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no surprise if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. Their end will correspond to their deeds. Y'all have got to take the blindfold off your eyes. There is such a great delusion right now, and Satan is deceiving so many people. Any follower of Christ who studies their Bible and prays for discernment can discern the times we are in, and they can see through the lies. But if you are not strong in your faith, you will be deceived.
This is also new. It's not new. I realize that nothing we've been doing is new. We haven't been tapping into new areas of the brain. We've just been awakening the most ancient. This technology is simply a route to powers that conjurers and alchemists used centuries ago.
We're seeing an exponential growth in our machines and innovations as technology surpasses and exceeds our limitations. Implications could be serious. In many past and present futurists have been warning us for years about the consequences. Massive repercussions. We see the evidence, dependence on our internet and phones and games and televisions, losing independence. As we immerse ourselves in working all our fingers to the bones for corporations, we give them back our paychecks for the latest and the greatest plastic upgrades, name brand products and replacements, and build the databases, investing hours of our own free time uploading information used against us to target us with market advertising toward our interests, collecting information used to monitor our senses, correcting anyone who won't comply or be connected. How long before a mandatory microchips injected? It's the age-old lie, the promise of utopia, the carrot on the stick, the empty cornucopia, technological hive mind dystopia. Or will it rise as a time of robophobia? It's the age-old lie, the promise of utopia, the carrot on the stick, the empty cornucopia, technological hive mind dystopia. Or will it rise as a time of robophobia? It's an emerging type insurgence, converging and been burgeoning and churning, slowly bursting to the surface. It's concerning every person and confirming every warning. The disturbing thought we're working toward a single mind that's merging and converting us to downloadable versions of ourselves inside a full immersion, universal simulated virtual reality, where every living earthling's neural pathways are inspected mandatorily and connected using voice to skull telepathy, absorbing data fingerprints that play us back like instruments, manipulating us just like we're puppets of ventriloquists, remote controlling human beings like Ouija boards, coursing through the veins of circuit boards, record the sound of every vocal cord, moving exponentially towards a singularity. Eventually we won't distinguish magic from technology, and robots will unplug from electricity, no longer using batteries but powered like a golem using alchemy. It's the age-old lie, the promise of utopia, the carrot on the stick, the empty cornucopia, technological hive mind dystopia. Or will it rise as a time of robophobia? It's the age-old lie, the promise of utopia, the carrot on the stick, the empty cornucopia, technological hive mind dystopia. Or will it rise as a time of robophobia? So we manipulate genetically our DNA collectively, infecting every living organism and directing every intersecting thought and every memory and vision, inspecting our opinions and collecting our decisions. A digital technocracy emerging as philosophy, inserting thought police patrols and mind control technology, removing private property, enforcing thought bureaucracy, reducing every freedom and pursuit of life and liberty, consistently expanding all their terms and their conditions with minimum requirements and maximum restrictions, creating unknown problems to offer fake solutions to complicate the system till there's nothing but confusion, depicting anyone who won't conform as unacceptable, demanding everyone to all agree and not be skeptical, eventually connecting every mind from every nation, fulfilling prophecies from Genesis to Revelation. It's the age-old lie, the promise of utopia, the carrot on the stick, the empty cornucopia, technological hive mind dystopia. Or will it rise as a time of robophobia?
Even with all these new abilities that are hard and dangerous, human race lost that knowledge, and now I'm reclaiming it through virtual reality. You're moving too fast.